Alex, the break, everybody's heard about how hard players worked. Do you expect the players will now have a greater understanding of what you expect from them and their roles and responsibilities?
Yeah, I think that I didn't think they had a bad understanding of it before, but naturally when you practice something and you do it more and more and more, then all the little sort of grey areas that we call them in terms of when to go, when to release the ball, when to sort of make that overlap and run, it becomes more attuned, should we say. So yeah, I'm hopeful in the fact that we can put a good performance on and we can go and more importantly get some more points on the board.
Lots of fans will be looking at this game. Optimism will be through the roof because there's been several weeks away. What's your message to them? Just more of the same?
No, I think the message is sort of obviously back us and stick with us. Do you know what I mean? Because you're not going to have every game your own way. But I'm hoping we can make a really good and fast start. We can get the fans obviously behind us and excited about obviously how we're trying to play. And then for that point, the rest is down to us. You know, we've got to deliver on the pitch, and then the fans will sort of respond likewise. So, but yeah, I think there's been certain stats that we've had as a club for over a period of time that we want to try and remedy and make better. You know, in terms of if the game's not going our way, but making sure we're resilient, we can come back, we're going to go and try and push for the next goal. So all the moments are going to be really important. I'm sure Cardiff will feel in the exact same way coming here in their first game in 4 weeks. So yeah, I think it'll be a case of who plays better on the day.
You have to measure yourself against the better teams in this division, in any division, even though the standards are pretty close. Is there any team that you're trying to emulate how they get their 3 points, or are you just concerned with Stoke City?
No, I don't think you can do it like any other team because our players have got different strengths and weaknesses in the opposition. I think that when you're doing an analysis on an opposition in terms of how you go about it, how you play and how your system matches up with them, there always will be somebody in the league that's relatively similar, if that makes any sense, whether it be through system, whether it be formation, whether it be through personnel, that, like for instance, if we're playing Cardiff, we would then look at that team and how they would dealt with Cardiff and how they played against them because they might have similarities to ourselves. So that can happen quite often. And sometimes that can fluctuate throughout the season depending on who that team is.
Cardiff are also looking for consistency. They're just below us in the league. What sort of game do you expect from them?
Having seen Cardiff, I think Cardiff are quite expansive. They want to go and win the game. I think the struggle for goals is obviously their tally suggests. But I think they've got good sort of attacking players and I think they can cause you problems. So some of the I've watched 3 or 4 of their games over the course of the last week, and in each of the games that I watched, their performance-wise, I didn't think was poor by any means. I thought they caused teams problems. And
Stoke haven't got a great record against Cardiff in the last few matches. I just thought I'd give you something good there.
Sort of digest, Ange, that's great.
I think we haven't won in 6 out of the last 7.
Right, but records are there to be broken, aren't they? So what I would say is that's not reflective of me having played against Cardiff, even probably this personnel that we've currently got at the club. Like I say, the fact is the game will be decided on how we play in the day, how they play in the day and who's better.
And during the break there's been a couple of additions, Ricky Martin in the technical area and Jonathan Gold, goalkeeper coach. Why did you pick Jonathan?
I had Jonathan at Preston. I was really sad to lose him for there. He went back over to New Zealand for sort of family reasons as well as work. And then when I found out obviously that he'd came back to the UK and obviously we were in need of that position, I feel as if you want to add a little bit of diversity to your backroom team. You know, John's got really good experience, he's been about the block, he's played at a good level, he's coached at a good level, and I think that his experience and his sort of wisdom, if you like, would be really beneficial for the team. Obviously Ricky, when you talk about in terms of the technical department, Ricky will oversee the departments. I mean, he's not necessarily one that's going to be in the dugout. He's there to basically make sure that the club, in terms of all the different sort of departments that we've got, are functioning as best they possibly can, and he'll oversee those departments. So that'll be his key role.
And how are Stoke on the injury front at the moment?
As always, I'm not going to give you much information on that, as you know. But listen, what happens is you get a couple back and then there's always another couple that start to pick up a couple of niggles. So yeah, we've got a couple of lads that might not quite make it for this weekend, but a lot of the ones that, if they are coming back, they're not far away.
And everybody's talked about Harry Souttar's performance in the World Cup. How pleased are you that he's back and looking fit, ready to start?
Yeah, but I think the plan that we spoke about prior to the break is exactly how it's panned out, which is great. You know, we gave him the game against Luton, which I thought he performed very well in. I thought the turnaround for West Brom was far too quick for him, and it was going to naturally risk, or I thought he was at high risk after that game because there isn't a lot of rest between. And what's allowed him to do is get the break that he needed and then go and really attack and get his fitness and get his game minutes up for Australia. And now we've got a player back now who looks to me as if he's fully up to speed and he's ready to go. So yeah, it's a great asset for us.
And this being the last home match before Christmas, you're competing against Christmas shopping. It's on the red button.
We're competing against Christmas
Well,
shopping.
yeah, because people, you know, wives, boyfriends, they'll want to go shopping. They'll not on a cold day. They won't want to be coming down to the Bet
They're going to buy another
365.
scarf like that.
I won't talk about the scarf. But how important is it, therefore, that the crowd will probably be down a bit with it being on the red button as well, but you really could do like every week with the crowd getting behind the team. But how important can the crowd be for this team?
Yeah, I think it can be vitally important. I mean, particularly at home. Our home form this season hasn't been great. So, but I'm a big believer, and I've said this since I've walked in, so it's not me changing directive in terms of how I see it. I think the catalyst comes from the team first. We've got to perform, they've got to see effort, they've got to see endeavour, they've got to see the bits that you would want being a supporter of Stoke City, and then I think they'll respond off the back of that. So, and as always, I know I was making a joke here, but yeah, we're competing with things. You know, the cost of living's went through the roof. We need to earn the fans' money to come and watch us. They should be excited about coming to watch the team, and that starts with us performing and making sure that we do everything we possibly can to win. So, my opinion on that hasn't changed and won't change. And that's irrespective of whether we're doing well or poorly. If we're doing poorly, we can't expect a crowd to rock up and support us and be very vocal and get behind us because we haven't merited it, you know. So, but I'm very hopeful. All the raw ingredients that you would like to see as a fan, I'm hoping we'll see tomorrow.
And not thinking of you as a Christmas Scrooge, have you started your shopping list for the...
You've made a presumption there, Andrew, which is unfair.
Sorry. Have you started your shopping list for the January transfer window?
The January transfer window feels so close, but also a million miles away at the moment because I've got crucial games between now and then, and they are obviously the focus. But as always, what you've got is you've got the immediate, which is tomorrow, and then you've got a little bit longer term, which is obviously January window. So I would be telling sort of pokies if I said that we weren't obviously looking at the January window in terms of what could potentially happen. The difficulty you've got with that always, but is you're not in control of all the sort of dynamics. You know, there's different factors that are going to come into account, and that's something that we'll just need to adjust to as it goes. But we'll have certain sort of plans in place, and depending on how things pan out, we'll be prepared whatever the outcome looks like.
Thanks for your time again.
Thank you.
Alex, it was obviously an opportunity for you to play some games beside having the game against Nottingham Forest amongst yourselves. Was that very active in terms of the way you wanted a mini pre-season like?
Yeah, if I'm being honest, we had two games lined up. We had Friday and Saturday. Unfortunately, we had to cancel the Saturday because we picked up a couple of little niggles. And what I didn't want to do is I didn't want to spread the teams that lightly that I was going to be sort of half-baked in the Friday, half-baked in the Saturday. I didn't think that was going to work in our favour, shall we say, because we wanted a good competitive game. The Friday evening against Nottingham Forest I thought was excellent. I thought it was a good game. I thought we performed well. We obviously played a game over in Dubai as well, which was good, and then we played an in-house match on Tuesday amongst ourselves just to make sure that we topped up any minutes that were lacking for some specific players. So yeah, in that respect I think that we've teed it up to this point, in my opinion, in a healthy manner, which makes us ready hopefully for this game.
They gave you an opportunity not only to see your players but also the players to make an impression on you, and that counts, doesn't it, as we move into a very active part of the season now in the festive season.
Yeah, but that changes daily, doesn't it? Because if you go through 3 days where you don't perform well, you don't train well, you don't do the right things, naturally there's somebody behind you that should be pushing you to try and take that spot. So it's an ongoing thing as a footballer. You know, there might be days where you underperform. The next day you need to make sure that you're ready and you're going to do your job properly, because if you don't, you should have somebody behind you that's going to push you and potentially take that spot off you. So and also in terms of injuries, niggles, we want to make sure that we've got as much a competitive squad as we possibly can. So over this period, because it hasn't had a lot of games and the tension of games, because the tension of games changes things. I mean, the best I can equate it to is over the course of pre-season, everybody's really friendly and everybody's sort of training hard together. the minute you get to the stage where you know you need to pick 11, and some of the lads know that I might not be in that 11, obviously the dynamics start to change a little bit because they're highly competitive.
You don't go into the game with any momentum, do you? Really, in terms of because of the last game, unfortunately, you lost the game. Is that a difficult time?
I don't think that's any bearing on this game at all. To say any team's got momentum with 4 weeks off, I don't think that pays any.
So everybody's on the same starting point. Is that the way you look at it, Alex?
Well, it's 4 weeks of a break. What do you think? Do you know what I mean? What we haven't discussed is what happened at West Brom 4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I don't think momentum for that game, irrespective of whether it was going to be good, bad or indifferent, is going to have any bearing on what happens tomorrow. You know, we've had a clean 4 weeks, we've had different games in that period. Football moves on that quickly that feels a long time ago now.
You touched on the Cardiff game as well, and you're saying they're looking to obviously maintain some sort of consistency as you are. Is that a factor when you meet a team that are on a level playing field, if you look at it that way, in terms of their form and your form?
Not necessarily, no. Because I think if you look at some of the teams that we beat, like Sheffield United, you know, I think they're either at the top of the division or certainly close to the top of the division, and we beat them convincingly at our place. We went to Norwich, I thought we performed extremely well, although we didn't win the game. So I don't think, particularly in the Championship this season, there's been any great deal of consistency. I think we're 6 points at the moment away from the playoffs. And in my view, our form needs to improve. We haven't done well enough. So for that to still be the case, suggests that we're not the only one in that bracket. I would think that there's probably about 18 teams so far that think they should have probably done better or could have done better. And you might have 4, 5 or 6 that will be quite content with where they are. But I think what it does show you is how competitive the Championship is.